If you've been struggling to finish your songs, I'm gonna take a wild guess that the big reason could be lyrics. I mean, lyrics are so tough, especially at the beginner level. I mean, how do we craft a story? Like, how do we make lyrics, like even think of them? Like, how do we think of lyrics and even make them sound relatable and human? Like, there's a lot of stuff that goes on with lyrics. It feels like they could sound so fake. It's so easy to sound so trite and not believable. Well, today we're gonna talk about a simple framework for you to walk through. I'm gonna encourage you, invite you to come along with me as we step through this process methodically, especially at the beginner level here. I just wanna help you get unstuck. I wanna help you try to find out your concept, and I wanna give you an action plan to go forward so that slowly but surely these lyrics are gonna start flowing from your brain, okay? That's the goal today. And if lyrics have stopped you before, right, then I want to point you to a free guide that I put together called Finish Songs in 5 Steps. It literally walks you through taking a song like you have no idea, you got nothing, and spitting out a fully finished song with lyrics, music, production, everything. So if you're stuck writing songs, especially if lyrics are part of it, there's a whole section about lyrics in this guide. Completely free is my gift to you. You can check it out. Link is in the description, or you can head to finishsongs.com to get a copy of that. But we're gonna get after it today. Like, we got some myths to bust. We got some records to set straight. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. All right, so we're gonna be talking about writing our lyrics, and I'm gonna walk you through what we're doing today. At the beginner level, I'm gonna help you get unstuck and just start writing lyrics. Like, everything comes from just being able to start putting words on paper or typing out your words on your phone. So we're gonna get unstuck today. We're gonna discover our concept. So we're gonna figure out, how do we know what to talk about? Like, that is like such an important part of lyrics, all right? Then the last part is gonna be storytelling 101. I'm gonna give you such a brief little storytelling 101 to help you make your lyrics sound relatable and sound more human, okay? So let's go ahead and get started. Let's jump into it. So to start off with, I think you might be stuck because nothing is inspiring you. And I don't necessarily mean like you don't have anything to write about. I'm more talking about, I think you're stuck because there's nothing pulling lyrics out of you. Because there's this massive myth going around that, you know, you have to have a lot of life experience in order to write songs. Like, you can't write songs, you can't be writing lyrics or stories or poetry or anything for that matter unless you're going out and experiencing stuff. You need more experience, man. Okay, first off, massive myth. Myth has been busted right here. How come? Well, because I'm gonna take a wild guess, and I'm going to bet that you, sitting right here, watching this, learning, already have life experience. You don't need to step out your door and go on a wild adventure. You don't need to fall in love just to get cheated on and broken up with. You don't need to go drink a whole bunch of stuff. Like, you don't need to do any of this stuff to get lyrics for your songs. You already have chapters. I bet you got a whole book inside of you of lyrics, of words, of experiences that you have lived through. Why? As the saying goes, there's only one you. And as cheesy as it sounds, I actually believe that. I think you were created one of a kind, I personally believe, by God. And because of that, you have one fingerprint for you, right? No 2 fingerprints are the same. No 2 people are the same. So this means that you sitting right here have already lived life. I'm sure you've already felt sad at some point. I'm sure you've been upset at something. I'm sure you've been so excited you're jumping up and down. I'm sure you've rejoiced over something before. So I want to proffer to you that before you start thinking, man, like nothing's coming to me, you're sitting at this blank piece of paper at this screen or whatever, and you're like, nothing's coming to me. Like, how do artists do this? how do people write things? Well, before going off and trying to create things to write about, I'm gonna say you're stuck because we're not getting anything to pull those lyrics out of you. What am I talking about? Okay, anybody seen Ratatouille? Disney movie, right? Mad shout out, Chef Gusteau. So Chef Gusteau's like the big wig, right? He's like the big chef. He's got the 5-star restaurant, and he's selling a cookbook called Anyone Can Cook. And his big phrase throughout the story, and I'm not gonna spoil it or ruin it for anybody, is anyone can cook. He thinks anyone from anywhere, no matter what your situation is, no matter what your training is, that anyone can cook. It's already inside of them, right? Which is what makes the story so awesome, because it's a rat that is able to create awesome food. Okay, I'm kind of drawn from that. I'm not saying you're a rat, but I'm just saying anyone can make songs. I actually think that. I think anybody can make music. I think anybody can write lyrics. It's just having the willpower, and the kind of like the only limitation is actually believing the only limit is your soul. Check this out. That's what the big saying is that Chef Gusteau says. Anyone can cook. The only limit is your soul. I wish I could do his awesome accent, but I'm not going to do it. So the only limit is your soul. Just meaning the only limit is you. Like, you're it. you're already been alive. You've already experienced things on this earth that you can write about. So I'm trying to say, let's not go out, step outside the door and try to create an adventure to find our concept, because most often the concept comes second. This is just truth. Most often the concept comes second. Now, you might already have a folder or a journal, or for me, it's on my phone, like the Notes app. I just have titles, like random titles, random phrases, random things I think sound like a good lyric, or things that sound like a good chorus, or just a straight up topic that I want to write about. Usually, concept comes second. Like, you're sitting down to create something, and really the music is driving it. Like, whatever the creation is that's there, like you're piecing together the concept, but you know, rarely ever do you just, I'm going to write about heartbreak, and when it happens because of this situation, and you just start writing. Like, usually it's inspired, usually it's uncovered, okay? And I'm not saying it never happens, because sometimes, of course, like, you could have a concept and you're just choosing that and you're just gonna write and create around that. But I'll encourage you, especially at the beginner level here, that let your music inspire your lyrics. So that's what I'm trying to get at, because we got to start the engine. We can't steer a parked car, right? You're sitting there, all right, lyrics, go. Lyrics, go. You know, like nothing's coming to you. Well, let the music pull it out of you, okay? Like, what is your concept gonna be? That's the next step. So I want to tell you, you don't need to go live a whole bunch of life experience to write awesome lyrics. You already have lyrics inside of you. How are we going to pull it out of you? Well, we got to start moving the car so we can steer it. We're going to start moving around things, pulling out inspiration inside of us, or pulling out things inside of us by being inspired by music. Okay? At the beginner level, this is awesome. This is going to lead us to our concept now. Okay? So as you're listening to this music, as you're starting to move a little bit, here's some questions you could ask yourself. What am I trying to say? Really, what does this music make me think of and feel like? Right? You're listening to this music, you have this guitar pattern you have on loop, this piano thing, or a literal loop inside of like a DAW or something. And you're like, what does this make me think of? What does this make me feel like? What kind of song is this? You know, like, does this sound like a love song? You know, am I in the mood to write a breakup song? Is a motivating song. Man, I want people to dance to this for sure. I just want it to be a dance song, or it's a lighthearted anthem. Like, we can all do this. These are all questions to start getting that car moving, to start getting those lyrics that you already have inside of you to come out. Because I guarantee if you said, what's made you happy before? You could think of a whole bunch of situations. What's made you sad before? You could think of a whole bunch of situations. That's how we just got to get started, is getting those thoughts, those images swirling around, which leads me to the biggest tip I could give you at the beginner level is to trust your reactions to the music, melody, and gibberish. We've been walking through songwriting for beginners in this series, right? We've covered melody, we've talked about music, and these things are the catalyst more often than not for gibberish. That's just how songwriting starts. Like, you just start piecing things together, and throughout this gibberish, these ideas pop out. Like a phrase or two will slip out, and that is your subconscious just dropping hints. Call them Easter eggs. Sometimes they're treasures, okay? And I want to tell you, most of the time, they're treasures. Most of the time, it's so cool. Your gut reaction to something, and if you just let it flow forward, that is what is going to be called genius. Those are the moments that are called magical, because it just happened. You don't know where it came from, but there it is, and now you're running with it. Okay? So if you've gone through my guide before, and I'm trying to plug it again, but if you've gone through my guide before, we talk about this. We talk about how we want to set up a system so we can capture those moments. You never just want to wing it. Oh man, if you're just sitting here playing on stuff, and you don't have anything going, you're not even recording anything, you're just like doing something, and then something happens that's magical, it is so hard to recreate that. I don't know if you've ever tried to do that. Like, what was that thing that I did when it was like, you know, it's so hard to get it back. So you want to set up a framework to where you can capture that awesomeness, so you have it saved, so then you can refine it and work from it. So trust your reactions to the music. What hits you in your gut? With that melody, what's it make you think of? With that gibberish, what word does it make you think of? Okay, and this is all stemming from a totally real thing, which is leaning into these connections. I want you to lean into these connections and memories that you're gonna get from your feelings of knowing. And before you're like, well, that sounds pretty frou-frou. Yeah, it kind of is, but it's actually backed by science, and I just want to show it to you really quick and pull up this website. So this is the idea that, you know, music actually affects your brain. Anybody know that? Like, Like it's actually proven. Like it's not just like, oh, this makes me feel this way. It's actually proven. This is a whole study done from the National Library of Medicine, just talking about music and its effect on memory and emotion. So just want to scroll down really quick to right here. So these are terms that are used in memory research. The big one that I want to point out is right here, associative memory. It's this guy right here. So a memory system in which a specific piece of memory information is linked to another memory information by associative links. So it's how you can recall a previously experienced item by thinking of something that is linked with it. That evokes this association. So that's one thing. That's why you can think of something and it leads to something, and before you know it, you're in a rabbit trail in your own head. This other one here, I want to point out episodic memory, the memory of events, places, times, associated emotions, and other concept-based knowledge of an experience. This is what I was talking about. Like, you already have all this stuff inside you. You need to go create that. We're just starting to write songs. Like, we don't need to go out and try to find more. That's kind of more like of an intermediate, more of an advanced, if that's a thing, more advanced kind of side of stuff. You already have stuff. We just got to work with it. We got to pull it out. You already have all these ideas inside of you. So when that means we're talking about our feelings of knowing, that just means that these feelings, these connections, I want you to lean into them, okay? So you're trusting your reactions. What does it sound like? What does this feel like? Oh man, that sounds kind of sad. It makes me think of this. Wherever you just spurred off to, trust that and lean into it, because these connections, these memories that fill your head, like, they're so powerful. It's why a smell can make you think of a time when you were 7 years old at the park with your grandma and grandpa, right? It's why driving down a street that looks really familiar to another one flashes a memory inside of your head. These memories, these connections, these things are part of what are going to make your song sound relatable and human. Gee, I wonder why. Because they're actually coming from you, right? You're leaning into these connections, these things that you've experienced before. You don't think other people have experienced these kind of similar feelings before, right? King Solomon told us all the way back in the Bible, right? That like nothing new is under the sun. Ecclesiastes. Everything that's been done before, everything has been done before. There's nothing new under the sun. Feelings too. There's nothing out there that's a brand new feeling. We've all felt things before. So how do we make things sound relatable and human? We talk about things that we've all have felt. Stuff related to the human condition, right? So to continue on, I'm going to leave you with an actionable step from this. So taking all this into account, remember where we're at. We're moving the parked car. Right? We're actually starting to pull lyrics already out of us. We're doing that by starting with a piece of music that evokes some kind of emotion. Those reactions that we have to our music, melody, and gibberish are going to spurt us off into these connections and memories that we have, these feelings of knowing, and we're going to lean into them. We're not going to push them away. Out of all this, I would advise you to write your chorus first. Would advise you to write the chorus first. Why? Because the chorus is the bulkiest part of your song. Lyrically, section-wise, it's the part that's repeated the most, on average 3 times, right? And lyrically, it makes up the most of the lyrics. They're the same lyrics usually repeated throughout, but it makes up the most of the lyrics, because if there's 3 or 4 choruses, you just got a verse or 2 and a bridge, right? Lyrically, the biggest part of your song is going to be this chorus. So we want to take these reactions that we're having, these feelings and connections that we're trying to come up with this concept, we want to write the chorus first, because really, if you don't have a chorus, you don't really have a song, right? Anybody ever just like tried to write verses? You just start from the very beginning, and it's really hard. You know, sometimes it can flow. I'm not saying it can't. I'm just saying I have found it especially to be harder. You start at the beginning, you have an awesome verse, and then you're like, oh man, like where do I go? And you're like, oh yeah, there's a chorus. You're like, where do I go from here? This is awesome. I already did all the awesome stuff, right? So to get that strong chorus, that part that's repeated the most, the part that has the most potential usually to be stuck in the listener's head, we want to start there first. Are you following this? I hope this is touching base, because at the beginner level, we're trying to trust these instincts that we have, that I think we all have. Anyone can cook, anyone can make a song, and we're trying to distill them down into creating the chorus, which is going to be driving home our main concept, right? And we let that chorus, that concept that we write our chorus from, we let that inform the verses. We let that inform the bridge. We let that inform an intro or outro, right? We start from there. And of course, this isn't a hard rule. It's just an insight. It's just something you could try. Maybe try writing the chorus first, right? Of course, you could start with a verse and it can inform the chorus, and so on and so forth, okay? Doing good? All right, so storytelling 101. So we're moving past the car being moved, right? We're not parked anymore. We're steering something, we're moving. We're figuring out our concept, right? Now that we figured out this concept from these connections, memories, whatever it is, gibberish, put it all together in a chorus, now we're starting to put words down. How do we make them sound relatable and human, right? And believable to you. You want to be confident in your own lyrics, right? So at the end of the day, a song is a story. And we just got to remember this. At the end of the day, a song is a story. And so, and it should read like it. This is a massive, practical, actionable tip. At the end of the day, a song is a story, and it should read like it. So as you're creating your lyrics, even if it's just a chorus or something, but especially after you finish like the first draft or whatever of your song lyrics, you got to start at the top and you go all the way to the bottom. If you're on your phone or whatever, if you're on a piece of paper, you just read, right, top to bottom. And that thing should read like a story. It should read like a mini book, right? Or it should read like a few chapters out of your life, right? That should make sense from top to bottom. It shouldn't be all over the place and disconnected. And make sure we say that, right? Like all of a sudden your concept, your chorus that you arrived at, let's say it's a breakup song, right? In the very beginning, you're not talking about let's go get them together anthem. Because in the verses sound like, we're all in this together. This is so awesome, right? Everybody united. And then in the chorus, suddenly you get super specific. You're talking to one person. You're talking about how like, we couldn't do this anymore. You and me were over, whatever. Makes sense? So you want to keep everything together. This is why I think starting with the chorus, that main pillar, can inform the rest of your song, okay? So practically, it should read like it because it's a story. This is where we're starting to get into sounding relatable and human. I really want to drive this home. At the beginner level, trust your voice. Please trust your voice because it's awesome. I don't know, I've never heard it, but it's awesome. You know why it's awesome? Because there's only one of you, like we talked about. So I want you to think about, how do you talk about things? What's your vocabulary? Some people think you need a really big vocabulary to write songs. Oh, I can't talk about all this stuff. Like I don't think I don't have the words to explain things. Man, most people don't have the words to explain things. That's what part of being a songwriter is so cool. You get to put music, right, in the place of words. You get to put words over the music to create things that people can't sum up by themselves. You get to put feelings to things. It's amazing. So what is your voice? What's your vocab? How do you talk about things? How do you explain things? Those are the things that you should be leaning into. You don't need to try to sound like somebody else. What are you? How would you describe something? Okay, and this leads me to this last point here is while you're being you and while you're describing stuff, avoid songwriter talk. What do I mean by songwriter talk? Okay, so I'm talking about stuff that you might read, stuff that you might find as you're going through this process of beginning to make songs. You need to make sure that your imagery is on point. You need to make sure that your metaphors are in every other verse and your similes really pop forward in the bridge because it's the final part. Like all of this hoop-de-doop-de climb to the top of poetry mountain. Look at me. You don't need any of this stuff. You just need to be you. You're not a formula. You're a human. Okay? You're a human being. You're a human being, right? You're not a human doing. So we want to avoid songwriter talk. This is how lyrics sound relatable and human. Why? Okay, let's just backtrack for a quick second. Hang with me. Well, we started with your own personal connections, feelings of knowing, and experiences, which are very human because you're human. And most, I'm assuming, the interactions you're talking about, the connections you have, are very human. They're already very relatable. Any memory you have, I bet there's thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people that could relate to that already. You're taking that connection, that feeling of knowing, and distilling it down into a concept, right? And that concept that you're gonna have is gonna be the main pillar of your song, right? And so far, as we're putting words to this, we're trying to describe this concept, right? By talking how we talk, by summing it up how we talk. If you say the word dope, I challenge you to put dope into your song. You could probably pull it off. I say dope in my real life, right? But I don't say it often enough that I could probably pull it off in my song. But how do you talk? If you say, that's whack how that happened, I challenge you to put that in your lyrics. It's gonna sound human because it's you. The second you start taking your own personal connection, your own feeling of knowing like we looked at, and you try to attach someone else's voice to it, that other voice, that other songwriter you look up to, that other artist you look up to, doesn't have that exact same specific connection and memory. That was yours. And now you kind of blew it by letting someone else try and talk about it. Don't put it somewhere else. That connection is yours, right? Put your voice to it and avoid the songwriter talk of trying to be hoopty-doopty all over the place. Just be you, just be real. That's how your lyrics are gonna sound more relatable and human, okay? So I hope all of this is making sense. And if this is overwhelming, please, like, you're only going to grow. You have to remember this. At the end of the day, you're only gonna grow, right? You're gonna grow each time you make lyrics, just like you're gonna grow each time you write melodies, each time you make music. It's gonna become faster and easier. Things are gonna flow better. But I challenge you to trust these frameworks. Like, go back through this video, watch the stuff, and really take these principles to heart, because refinement is a muscle, right? Just like we talked about, the ability to go back and refine things. Of course, you're gonna get better and better. Of course, at first, it's gonna feel like moving a mountain. You're gonna sit there and you're like, nothing is hitting me. But trust this process, walk through these principles, go through my guide if you'd like, where I break it down even further, right? And slowly but surely, you're gonna start putting words down. You're gonna start having concepts come to you. They're gonna feel like lightning bolts of inspiration. You're gonna put them down, you're gonna work with them, and you're gonna learn how to go back and refine them. You're gonna learn how to swap words in and out, right? You're gonna learn how to trust your subconscious and when to probably, like, edit it a little bit. You don't wanna go all the way there, right? You're gonna get there. You're at the beginning level now and you're writing a lyric, so I want you to feel encouraged. Don't get overwhelmed by this stuff. Just start. Start right where you are. And I think, just to kind of drive this point home, a little bit more, I want to share this clip really quick that I found of Ed Sheeran. Anybody heard of Ed Sheeran? So he's talking about this. Someone's asking about his songwriting and sincerity, and like the weight of making sure a song is really true, And I just love how he phrased this up. It's a really quick clip, but I just want to show it to you, okay? So check it out what he says to this.
I don't ever know if I care about being sincere at all. I think with songwriting, it's just how you feel at the time. It's whatever is on your minds, and like.
Did you catch that? I don't really know if I really care about being sincere at all. You might be like, wait, what? What? And I think when he's saying sincere at all, it's this songwriter talk of, is this sincere enough? Is this real enough? Right? Right? He's like, I don't really care about that. Like, I think songwriting is where you're at. Where are you right now? Right? What are you writing from right now? Later in this clip, he actually goes on to talk about how his songwriting has transitioned a little bit, how he's like, he's starting to write about his life is becoming more boring. It's becoming more mundane, as he says it. And he's like, but that doesn't mean they're bad songs. Like, they're just different, but it's still good. So do the reps, continue to practice it, and everything will slowly but surely fall into place, all while keeping in mind that lyrics are just one pillar of songs, okay? They're just one pillar. And if you need help going through these other pillars, I really invite you to check out that free guide that I put together for you. There's that whole section about lyrics. Give it a shot, plug your song into it. If you have one you can't get past, you're stuck with finishing it, or start from scratch. That's the best. Put that one into the system and watch yourself have a fully finished song by the end. Till next time.